Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to Thursday. It's Thursday time for some FileMaker training here at 1 o'clock Pacific time in California. But we are broadcasting in high definition to YouTube, to Twitch, where you can watch us every day at this time. About 1 hour of awesome FileMaker training on a wide variety of topics. And once again, I want to welcome all the folks that are showing up right now. Today's broadcast and topic is about FileMaker in doing relationships and whether relationships are live or kind of transactory in nature, transactional in nature. So does that mean that, what do we do and what do we use and what does it mean in the business? Very important. This topic today definitely, the beginning people should definitely dig into it. The intermediate people should definitely know this. If you don't, then you need to beef up on the intermediate skill set. If you're a senior engineer, you probably don't need this. You probably know it, but along the way, if you ask a more advanced question, I'm not opposed to that. I'm doing this today by myself. We could always call David in here, but the video guys are so busy editing content for the next release of FileMaker that they really don't have time to come up for air. And I don't have time to come up for air. So once again, remember, if you want our training bundles, these are really, you buy the training, you get the training. It's awesome training, but it's more animated. We don't answer questions, but there's more animations to kind of explain how things connect and stuff. It's really great. So if you want to coupon off this, send us an email to support. It's how you, questions, comments, complaints, send that to support@rcconsulting.com, and someone will answer the question. If they don't know what to do with it, they just leave it for me and say CEO on it, boss. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to dive in today. Questions along the way. You'll see me here. If I'm looking here, looking at you, looking here. This is my demo machine straight in front of me. If I am, fix my ears there. If I am looking this way, I'm actually trying to read the questions that you folks are throwing at me. Right on. Nick Hacks, yes. Okay, so real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a brand new FileMaker file over here. And that's a copy of starting point. I think that's unnecessarily complex. We're going to close that out. We're going to start a brand new FileMaker file. And after I create this, I'm going to create a blank file on the desktop. I'll call it relationships. If you folks really want the file, I guess I can provide it to you. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to hide all the various icons and things on the desktop. So all you have is me. And you have, this is the upcoming broadcast live stream. Once again, this is where we take, doesn't matter, we managed it here, but you saw it on the web page because the web page is reading data out of the FileMaker file in real time. Pretty cool. So this is our relationship file right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with, we need a couple tables to play with. Now, when you give the file a brand new name, it creates a table called relationships, which makes no sense whatsoever. People name a file contacts, and then it names a table contacts. I guess that makes sense. So what we want to do is we're going to start with we need 3 tables in here. We need a contact today. And if you have questions along the way, once again, this is pretty basic. So some of you are going to be like, oh, this is horrible. This is so boring, right? And then we need invoices, create a table, and then I need products, okay? And I don't know if we need all 3, but I'm going to create all 3. And what I'm going to do in each one is I'm just going to, with FileMaker, it auto creates these items in here. It causes some interesting problems, some training problems when I use their primary key. The primary key, this gets into, once again, relationships. You have this key. I prefer at the learning level we're at that the key is something easy like 1000, and so you can see it matches the other 1000. FileMaker in here is using what a senior engineer or senior developer would use, not a serial number, but they're using this UUID. If you actually look at it, I go to create a new record. If I go to layout, I drag down the field on here. You'll see why it's not quite so great. Let me grab that one. I can drag it down. Or I could drag it from the left over there. You can do it more than one way. So that's the primary key right here. I got to make it big. I go to browse mode. So to line that up visually, to line up with another one, would you rather try to look at that string of nastiness there, or would you like to look at the word 100 or 500 or something really basic? So for learning, this sucks. Once again, it's a training function. So I'm going to go back in the field definitions. I'm going to go ahead and delete the field. I don't want to monkey with it. I'm going to call a new field. I want to create a new field. I want to call it ID underscore. It's going to be the primary key. So we're in contacts, ID contact. I'm going to say create. I'm just laying the groundwork here to get this stuff going. It could be text or number. Numbers are technically a little faster, but you can't mix any text in there. I'm going to say a serial number. We're going to start at 100. Okay, something easier. Well, I said 1,000. There's 1,000. Then I'm going to go to the invoices here real quick. ID invoice. I'm going to do this real quick, but you're watching me do it so you know what's going on. I'm going to create that field there. I'm going to say number there. I'm going to say I'll say 2,000 on this so we know it's a little bit different key. And then if I go to products, I'm going to say ID product. I'm going to create that as a number and then auto create that with a 3,000 on it. Once again, these numbers are arbitrary, just makes it visually easy. I'm going to go ahead and delete these other primary keys here because they are asking for confusion if we just leave them in here. Okay, so very important. I've done all that. I'm going to hit OK. What I want to do is it created a layout for us here, which is great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make these a little bit smaller because they're a little bit unwieldy and it's hard to manage it on the layout at one time. So make this a little smaller. And then questions along the way for external. Okay, no. I'm not going to go into David has promptly got bored with the basic conversation. Once again, this is a basic conversation. David started talking about external SQL. So I'm going to avoid that conversation because that literally is on the opposite side of the planet of where we are today. Okay. Yeah, through the FileMaker. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I'm not trying to be. If you guys see I'm trying to avoid questions, it's because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. Because understand that you may ask the question, it may make sense to you, but it may not make sense to me, in which case it gets uglier as we go. So these are invoices on this layout right here. We're going to do it that way. We're going to keep it a little bit smaller so we can manage this stuff. I want like little columns here on this. And once again, a lot of you are going to be really bored by this. So you'd probably be surfing eBay or doing something else while we're having this fun. I'm going to switch this over to products over here. And so when we created the table, it created one layout for each one. It also created a single TO for each one, or a TOG. It's a TO, but because they're not connected, that literally is a table, separate table occurrence groups. We are not going to do anchor buoy today in the conversation. We're just going to kind of connect these things. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to do for on an ID invoice. I'm going to assume my invoice only sells one product. For those of you, I'm talking to the camera and you can't actually see me here. I'm going to assume that the invoice sells one product. I'm going to assume that an invoice has one contact. So it's not like a one-to-many where we need line items. We're going to keep it very simple for the conversation. It gets to this issue of live data versus non-live data. It's a very important topic for the beginning and more beginner intermediate people. Nathan Schneider, if he's here, he's going to want to go get lunch and come back tomorrow or something. Houston, all right, Jay's in Houston. Do you offer a quantity discount on the bundles? Jay Hall, if you wanted a quantity discount on the bundle, yes, we do. Send an email, address it to me specifically, support@rcconsulting.com, and say, hey, I want a quantity discount. I can't do it right now because I'm training, but I will get to it when I'm done with the broadcast. So on the invoices, I want to double click here. I want to go in here. I'm going to need some foreign keys is what I normally do. And I normally put ID on here. That way the keys also always sort together in a group so that they sort together alphabetically. So I do ID this, ID that. I will say that in the invoices, I want the related contact that we want. And then what I do to help me, sometimes I'll put an underscore, and I hold it on the Mac. It's Option F, which gives me this funky F key for foreign key. And so sometimes I'll do that. That helps remind me of what I'm looking at. It's a text field. We'll just keep it, are the keys, they're number fields for now. We'll leave numbers for now, just keep it simple. And then I'm also going to say ID product. And that'll be a foreign key too. So notice that the foreign keys are not set to auto enter up here. So once again, you got to make the screen kind of full size. I'm not going to try to zoom or whatever the combination is that zooms. It must not be enabled on this computer. Whatever it is. And I've tried to do that before, and I have to enable it. So the idea is that you have these relationships right here, and what we want to do is connect the contact up here. I can zoom in on this, so let me go ahead and do that. This is kind of got a goofy interface. So I'm going to go ahead and do this up here. That'll make life a little bit easier for you. I'm going to connect, so this is the primary key. I want to connect it to the foreign key over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my pointer tool. I'm going to connect that to this one, okay? And what that does is the ID contact primary connects the ID foreign over here. This tells it it's going to be a 1, and it theoretically could be a mini, which makes sense. One contact could have multiple invoices. Each invoice will sell only one product, so I'm going to connect the ID product to the ID product over here, and so this ID product is set up. So this is a one to many, very simple. A real invoice would have to have a line items in here, so it'd actually be 4 tables across, but that's not really the exercise today. We don't really need that. So once again here, I'm going to make sure we have ID contact over here. If I come back over here to, I'm in the invoices, what I want to do is I probably just want to put that in here. Invoices. Of course, it's really ugly and narrow. So keyboard shortcut to make things bigger there. It's Command, Option, Shift, and then the greater than or less than key there. I'm going to put the primary key at the top right here. Boop. And then these two can come over here. Once again, I'm using the left. It's the inspector, but really the inspector is these left and right panes. They really don't call it the inspector too much because really it's attached and people just, you know. So you have the right side here, which has 4 panes in it. Over here, this has 2 panes, and maybe someday it'll have 3 panes in it. Wink, wink. Okay. There you go. So that's invoices. The idea is that we're going to want to look at all 3 of these simultaneously. I'm going to come over here in the relationships. I see products. I'm going to put the ID product over here. That's great. And then if I want to add a new field, there's a little shortcut down here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to say description, right, which is great. And then I'm going to say new field. I'm going to change the type on it to number, and it's going to be the, oh, because I clicked out of it. It self-destructed itself. Ah! So you can't go back. Oh, there you go. Right click. See, that's so cool when you, someone makes, I've never actually right clicked on that before, ever. And I did it on live TV, which is kind of cool. So, when someone actually makes an app that's consistent with other apps, like if you're in the Windows environment, there's things that Microsoft does that are consistent on the Mac. It's certain things, and right clicking, trying to get the options on it is pretty great. I love that. So it's a number field, so that's great. So we have these items right here, pretty straightforward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and do a little data entry. So browse mode, I'm going to say new record 3000. This is going to be a Tom from, I think, Netherlands. I can't spell it. Just do not get mad at me when I butcher this, okay? Tom in the Netherlands, we're going to say Tom is, this is a good one. Tom is 100, let's just say Tom is a senior engineer, I guess, $150 US per hour, okay? Maybe you could make more than that. And it is a number field. I don't have currency on here. Let's just pretend we're doing dollars. I do another new record. I've got Jake from Wisconsin. And if I don't use you guys, just trust me, Wisconsin. And I butchered that too probably. And Jake, let's say Jake, I have no idea about Jake. Let's say Jake is a mid-level engineer. So he's going to bill out at say $110 an hour, okay? And then let's do one more. Let's do Christian has been asking a lot of questions yesterday. So Christian, but say Christian just doesn't know anything, right? So Christian, and he's like a junior detective, and we're going to bill out for him at $75 an hour, US dollars, okay? Not saying any editorialing about you folks. In fact, I probably shouldn't use the audience members in the demo because then they might still freak out. So we have these products in here. These are products or services, right? And then this is the invoice. Over here, I'm going to go browse mode on the contacts. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to add a field. I'm going to say name of customer just for now. It can be text, which is great. I think that's all we need. Put it on there. Maybe make it like that. That's great. Questions. Hi, Elzo. Elzo's there. Yes. David's good. Braves Mountains Association. Hi. Hi, please. Can you explain more slowly, more clear, take an example, and working it from the beginning? Yeah, that's what we're doing. We started at the very beginning here. It's not a, we started this, I don't know when you arrived, but this is a brand new file. I just started building this. There are 3 tables in the field. There are 3 tables here. I understand. So if you have questions, ask the questions. It's okay to ask the questions. I am trying to teach specific things. I'm not trying to teach you how to build an invoice today. That's not the goal. The goal is to use a practical application and explain to you the idea between live which is transient data. It's likely to change, and data that you want to lock in and not change. And so that's kind of the conversation. So over here we have the customer, which is great. Over here we have the items that are great. And then we have an invoice that we want to set up. So what I want to do is, once again, I have 3 layouts that correspond to 3 different tables. They are relationally connected. It's not really a relationship exercise in terms of dragging and dropping and primary keys and foreign keys. Some of you need that right now. If you really need that, this is why when you ask questions, a lot of times it's only an hour today, an hour tomorrow. There's limited. Our training course is like 80 hours. So let me just do the obligatory thing. If you ask a question, you want to know about something, I'm going to open up the video training. This is our main product, our video training product, and I can do a search up here for relationship, and then I hit the return key, and these are all the videos that have to do with relationships. And this is where you're going to learn. If I just did stuff and you had no idea what I was doing, you need to come back here and start with what is a relationship on video 1101. Okay, so I will answer all your questions today. What I may do, though, is direct you to watch other avenues, because I can't teach everyone everything in 1 hour. I'm picking on one specific topic today, and I want to make sure that we answer that as best we can. If you don't have this training, I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty inexpensive. We do have a coupon discount for that. If you want the coupon, send an email everyone to support@rcconsulting.com. Okay, support@rcconsulting.com. They will send you a coupon back to get the training on a discount. So here's our invoice right here. We're going to put, let's just put the, let's add a field here. Let's say this is going to be the item sold. Okay, if we want, we could put the quantity that they bought, for example. We could put the unit price, which is what we get over from the products, unit price, and that's going to be a number field. I'm going to change this one right here to a number field. So these are the fields that are in this table as opposed to over here in this table, right? And these are 3, it's all in one file, but it's 3 tables, 3 tables, 1 file, 3 layouts, each one corresponding to the other. So they're hanging off the side here. There's no penalty for that, but we'll leave it there for the moment. Then we could say unit price, quantity. We could say an extended price. We have to define an extended price. We'll see if I can define that here. This is the extended price, which we'll just say is the price of the total of the invoice. Extended price. It's going to be a calculation. It should pop a dialog. There we go. The extended price on an invoice is the quantity times, right? Asterisk times the unit price. Okay, it's a number field, which is great, and now it's set up. So unit price number. So this is ready to go. So what I want to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm almost ready. I need a contact, so I need a, actually, I don't want to do that. So we have some records in here that don't have a primary key on them. I'm just going to delete them to get them out of here. And then when I create a new record, it starts with the primary key. I have Colleen, C-O-L-L-E-N, from Colleen Rose is there. Top Cat's there. Tom is there. Let's do, I got Bob. I got a whole bunch of people here. So great names here. So we have some people over here, right? And I'm looking at these in form view. So we're looking at each of these layouts designed to be in a form, not a list view. Once again, I'm just expediting the training on this particular topic. The idea is to see all 3 of these items simultaneously on screen is kind of the goal. Let me move over here, layout. Yeah, that's pretty big. Let me see if I can narrow this down. It's just, FileMaker starts off, most people don't need narrow little layouts unless you're doing a phone interface. Then this would look very familiar if you're building an interface for FileMaker Go on the phone. Okay, so we have that over there. Once again, when you go to layout mode and browse mode, once again, I'm using keyboard shortcuts. Most of you should know this. Command B allows me to go to browse mode, view, browse mode. Command B, keyboard shortcuts, command shortcut, Command L for layout mode. So I'm using a lot of keyboard shortcuts. Once again, today is not a training about modes. If you don't understand these 3 modes, then you come over here to the training and you type mode, right? And then you're going to come in here and you're going to find out modes in FileMaker, and it covers all these in great detail right here. So the training's already there for you. Okay, so just looking at questions, weather, they're talking about the weather, which is great. I'm going to stay away from that. And then Brazed Mountains Association did want me to go slower, so I'm trying to make sure I kind of cover all that. So I'm going to close that. So I have the contact, invoices, products. All right, so the idea now is that what I want to do is I'm going back and forth the browse mode and lab mode. We're going to create a new record here. And it's a brand new invoice. I press Command or Control N, and I say I want to have Bob over here. Now I could have a pop-up that would show me all the customers, or I could select something. Once again, not the goal of what we're doing today. I'm trying to kind of cover an important topic. So I'm going to say 1001. That establishes a relationship, but you can't see anything happening. How come? How can we see something happen? Well, what we want to do is I want to make a little bit of room on here. I'm going to come down here. And I want to show Bob on here. We know it's Bob. So I can go through the relationship we set up. So once again, I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go to Command Shift D on my fingers, File, Manage, Database. And then we come over here to, this is our structure once again right here. I kind of had it zoomed in earlier. Obviously, it's lost its mind. But we're over, once again, so the idea, what the training I'm doing here is kind of what I'm doing very deliberate. So we have the three, the layout there, layout there, layout there, table, table. These are matching up and down like this. Follow that, very important. I'm doing this very deliberately. And so when we're looking here, we're looking at this perspective here. I want to see the name of the person. The name of the person's over here, so we can bring it through the relationship. Make sense? So that's why these are, I can take a screenshot of this real quick so we can reference this in the future. I'll just do that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and discard the change. We didn't make any changes, but I now have a screenshot somewhere. Here it is. It's up here. So if we need it, we can just pop that and keep that floating around. I'm going to go ahead and hide the desktop icons again because they're distracting. I'm going to put this down here if we need that. So I'm going to come over here. What I want to do is I want to see a field through the relationship. I need the name of the person because once again over here, contact 1001 kind of boring. And so it doesn't really tell us too much. It's not a great solution. The field we want is the name of the customer, right? It'd be great if you could just like grab it and drag it over here. Yeah, FileMaker doesn't work that way. So what we have to do is be in layout mode on this side over here. We want to say we're seeing all the fields on the left side where basically is all the fields and objects. These are the objects, little boxes and fields. These are actually just the fields and nothing else. I say it's showing me the current table, but show me through a relationship to the contact. Awesome. There's the name of the customer. I drag it over here like that. And then I'm going to go back to browse mode, and I see that it is Bob. It is working. If I change that to 1000, then we have Colleen, so it is working. So say I didn't want Bob, I wanted Colleen. Very important. And then additionally, I wanted a product, and I wanted that product to be I want to hire Christian because Christian's really inexpensive and maybe I don't want to spend any money, which is great. Couple hours with Christian, and we're going to do that. So I would say I want to sell or I want to buy product 3002. Once again, you could have a pop-up that would do that. So the idea is that I put it in, but nothing came over. So we kind of, if we follow the same logic, we can go over here and see we have the extended price here, but really, do we want this extended price? Yeah, I don't know. We want the price from over here, right? And so what I could do is I could say, well, from here, show me the products, and then show me the price, and I'm going to put it over here. So I'm going to put it kind of to this side right here, I guess. And so this is the price. I'm going to put a label on it so we know it's products space price. And then I'm going to label it down so it kind of moves a little bit like that. Product price, you got like that, like that. I'm going to bring it down a little bit, maybe move it over here like that. Very important. Okay, so I go to browse mode. We see that the relationship is connected and is functioning. And so we have 302 matches, so it brings the data through. Now, what do we say is the item that we're going to sell? Once again, it didn't fill in here automatically for me. It'd be really great if it filled in. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop these over here. I'm going to go back over here to products. I'm going to say, well, I really had that description that's on the right side over here. I want that over here. I have the product, I have that, and then I have the quantity. We'll work that in a little bit. Now, so we see that. Click here, make it a little bigger. That way the top shows up. I've got Colleen. Colleen's 1,000. She has an invoice. The invoice is number 2,000, and she is buying Christian at $75 an hour. Okay, it could be a product or service. It doesn't really matter. So the interesting part here, and this is the whole point of this setup, and the whole point of what we're doing here is to understand that relationships are live data links. And not everywhere in life do you want a live data link. Sometimes you want it to be a snapshot in time. And so if you build an invoice, so say that this is some company, say that David has created a new company, and he's selling consulting, FileMaker consulting services, and this is David's company, and so David's setting this all system up. Colleen wants to buy that, and Christian $75 an hour. It's all good. He prints this out, sends it to her. Colleen prints it out. It's a tax deduction. She pays the bill. It's all great. Okay. The trick is that this is a transaction. It's a deal you did. It's an event. It's a specific time and place that exists generally. An invoice normally has a date and even a time on it, and so that's how that works. And so the problem is that Christian, because he's over here, he's watching our training, he's live here, he's asking questions, right, Christian? I don't see any questions. You may not get promoted. Christian, questions? He makes more money per hour. He moves up to $85 an hour. Now, we would come over to the product database. We say, hey, Christian's got a promotion. He's making $85 an hour, whatever. We move it up. But the invoice changed. Now, the problem is that Colleen bought this last year. In fact, we put a date in here, and it would say 2019. But now this is 2020. Christian's $85 an hour. We change it. It changed it live. By having a live relationship, we have distorted, or it's called data integrity is another way of talking about it, but we have destroyed the integrity of our transaction because this is the transaction our system says happened, but we know that Colleen only paid $75 an hour. And so live data links are useful. They're great where you want to have the latest data, right? But that transaction, that invoice should be locked in concrete. Once it's done, it never changes. So for example, say that Colleen has a job at this company over here, and say Colleen works at Apple, and she had hired an outside consultant to help her build the next whatever. And so Colleen's at Apple. This happens all the time. Apple does a lot of FileMaker work. They hire a lot of people to do FileMaker work. And so Colleen's over here, right? And so, but Colleen leaves, right? And so say there's a title over here, and this person's over here, and just for fun, I'm gonna say company, and I know I misspelled it, doesn't matter, and I'm gonna say VP of engineering. So Colleen has been promoted, she's way up the food chain, okay? So I'm gonna go back to browse mode, I'm gonna say it's Apple. Actually, that's the title. I totally screwed that up. I'm sorry. My mouth got ahead of my face here. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to rename. When I copy that, I'm just going to say that's the title. And then you'll see the problem here. So then out of the blue, right, Colleen leaves and someone else comes in. And so someone else comes in that job because VPs are already coming and going. Maybe Colleen just wanted a CEO job somewhere else. The VP was just a stepping stone for her, right? Well, the problem is that you really want to create a new record, right? And do that, and you don't want to be doing this thing where Fred comes in and takes over Colleen's job and you change it right here. You really need to have a new VP of engineering, right? And this is kind of the same idea. Now it's showing that Fred bought Christian last year, except the invoice says last year, but now it says he bought Christian for $85. That's not true. It was Colleen bought Christian at $75. So how do we solve this problem? I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to put this back over here. And it's very important. So what we're doing is we're using live field links right now. We need to use something that's called a lookup. The lookup has been around 1 billion years in FileMaker. In fact, it predates me by quite a bit. Eric Van Ostrom from The Hague here. Awesome, Eric. Very basic course today. Once again, reminder that the training we're doing today is definitely on the beginner side of things. So a lot of you, all of you experts here already know this. Please be patient because not every day is going to be how to make a rocket to go to Mars, right? Some of it we do the basics. So we have 3 relationships here, and everyone's dying for me to get to the lookup. And so what we have to do is that what we need the invoice to do is as we fill out these relationships here and we establish these, the system takes a snapshot at that time, like a camera, the old camera. New cameras just don't do anything. They just click or don't even do. The old days, they would make this, and you hear the film wind and all that. Shows how old I am. And so what we need to do is to keep a snapshot of what happened and to not change if these other items start changing. So what we want to do is I'm going to go in here to field definitions, command, under file, manage, database, command shift D with my left hand. And I'm going to actually come over here because I actually have to make a structural change here. And I want to come to the fields that are on the invoices. So normally when you make a relationship, you bring over the fields through the relationship. So that's why you're kind of looking through the relationship and you have a bridge. We have this really great, for those of you who are brand new, I highly recommend I'm going to show one thing here. There's a really great video to explain what the heck a relationship is. And it was so good. I remember FileMaker, the marketing people behind their breath. I was up there talking to them one day on some other topic, and they went, that was really, really good. In fact, they were going to do something similar, and because we did it, they ended up not doing it. They ended up doing something else. So this is it right here. We go through the idea that really, if you see this analogy right here, I'm going to mute this. But the idea is that you have a bridge between 2 sides of things, right? And so I don't know if you can see this very well, but the idea is that the relationship is one side and the other side, and we're building a bridge across. And as long as those numbers line up, the data can flow across like people walking from one side to the other. It's a really great video. It's in the course. It's video 0325. I highly recommend you watch it. It was one that the only way we could do it was with pencil and paper to do it really nicely. And so the idea is that we have a live bridge now because we have 1,000 there, 1,000 there. The bridge, the relationship is established, but I don't want the live fields. Because if I go to layout mode, you'll see the fields right here. I'm going to move over here down. Oh, that was really fast. Notice that the fields that we bring across that are live have the dots in front of them. That means that the fields don't belong to this table. They're being viewed through the relationship, right? Makes sense? And so a field that has dots in it will always be updated. Will always be updated. And so it's not a great snapshot kind of capability. So what you want to do is you want to define the fields locally in here that you want to have snapshot. Because really you can't tell these not to update because they must update. It's like literally an identical copy of, in this case, it's the price and product. It's the identical copy of these fields here. Okay, the fields over here on the right are local because there's no dots on them. But over here, the relationship, they will always match if that relationship is connected. Okay, and so we need to make a kind of locked in concrete things set of fields. So that's what we built here. So what we want to do is we want to build a lock in concrete. This will take just a minute to do this. I'm going to go to File, Manage, Database. I'm going to go over to Invoices. I'm going to actually just, can I double click? No, that does not do it. I wanted to go to Fields. And then when you're on, so once again, this is tables, all the tables, the fields in the tables, the relationships. We really want to be in Fields. If we're not, check to make sure you're in the right table. We want to be in Invoices. I need our own copy, a one-time copy of the contact name. So let's say, or customer name. So let's say customer name, and we create that. And so what we want to do is do a one-time copy across the bridge, one-time snapshot through the relationship. And so I'm going to say File, it's here. I would say Options over here. And notice it's a file. And what you could do is you could set a calculation that equals the other file, equals the other one. That you think, well, make a calculation, use that. That calculation will always still update. So what you want is not a calculation that's always updating, or the actual field through the relationship. You want something that fires kind of once and stops. That is a lookup. So it's this option down here at the bottom. So you hit Options, you get this window. It's Auto Enter a lookup. And you're going to be starting with the invoices, and we're going to get the data from where? from where. So you're starting here. You get confused. You got to say it out loud. I want to show information starting from blah, starting at invoices and looking through the bridge to the contacts, right? You say it like that. I'm over here waving my hands vigorously. You can't see me, but the idea is that you're looking across the bridge. So now it says, well, if you're looking across the bridge, what would you like to make a copy of, right? And so we want to make a copy of the name of the customer right here. And there's some other options here. Play with those some other time if you want. We're going to do that one right there. So I'm going to hit OK. I made the change. I go to browse mode. Now, what we have is we have this one up here. Okay, let me go back to layout mode real quick. This is a relational field. It's a live link. So I'm going to move it up a little bit. What I want is my new customer name I have right here. Notice it's local, right? There's no dots in there. So this one is the local one that works on the lookup. This one is, so it's a one-time copy. This one up here is continuously updated. So I go browse mode. And so what we do is that it won't trigger unless the relationship is active. It's like a relationship. It's like it activates once. It takes a snapshot. It's like if someone made a bridge and you saw it for the first time, you took a picture and then you closed your eyes and you walk away with the camera. That's kind of what this does. So the bridge has to activate briefly, right? And so like if I change the contact number right here, I can change it to anything else, right? And then I put it back to 1000, right? And this one up here is just going to lock on and work. This one right here will make an instantaneous photograph and keep a copy of it. And so it does, right? And you're like, oh, well, that's stupid. We already had it there. But if, for example, something were to change, say someone came over here and started changing Colleen, that they're going to put Fred in over here, notice that this is the field that was a snapshot. It stays that way, right? It's really cool. So this is that snapshot in time. It's a legal document. Invoices in some countries are most countries are legal documents. So I'm not seeing a lot of questions here. Everyone's really bummed or tired or bored. Hopefully Bunny's here. Definitely this is a Bunny level conversation. So what I'm going to say is I don't really want the changing data to always be in here. That's really bad. So I want to get rid of this field. So I'm not breaking the relationship. I just don't want to see the latest updated links. So the idea is that these all take snapshots at the time the relationship is set up. That is the critical walk away for today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the relationships on all these, right? Items sold, right? I think is the description. The quantity is something we put in locally over here. The unit price is so several of these come from over here. So what we want to do, I'm going to go to File, Manage Database. I'm going to come back over to Invoices. And notice over here, it says this is a lookup. It's kind of hard to see, but this says right here, the customer name is a lookup. So we want to go to the item sold. We want to make it a lookup to, I just double clicked it. So whether you're like, what the hell do you do? I didn't hit options. You could hit options or you could just come up here and double click it. It brings up your options, right? Auto enter, lookup value, starting at, here we go, I'm waving my hands, starting at invoices and looking through to the other side of the bridge, which would be on the products. And then we have the description of the item. So there's that one, okay? I hit OK. Now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say unit price, the price per unit, options, auto enter, lookup value, starting at invoices and looking through to where contacts know the unit price comes from the product, right? And then we have to select the price right there. Here it's called price, over there it's unit price. Really, in a very elaborate CRM like starting point, you're going to have unit cost, unit price, all these other things, back order or whatever. It gets pretty complicated. So I say OK. So that looks up those. Now, here's the important thing. We have extended price, which is math, right? Pretty good. So I think we're done. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go to browse mode. The problem is that we established the relationships, right? But nothing fired. Why? Because the bridge wasn't briefly reactivated. It's kind of like, the idea is that you want it to re-look up the information. Go and take another snapshot. And so what we have to do is just create a new item, new invoice if we want. But what you can do is just go in here to the product, just change it so it knows a change, put the old number back in again, right? If you click out, then it's going to briefly activate the relationship bridge it's going continuously, but the lookups will take a snapshot. So 1, 2, 3, snapshot. So so Christian, we got two names here, but Christian is the FileMaker developer. Now I could come over here and say, it's really FileMaker person, right? I could say FileMaker person. I'm going to right click, see if I can spell Christian correctly. There we go. And notice over here, it did an update, right? Thus, we have to refresh it again. So I'm going to change it again. 1, 2, 3. Now we got a snapshot. Now, here's where it gets really awesome. This is the important part. I'm going to say that he bought 5 hours, okay? There is the money amount right there. I'm going to go to layout mode. I'm going to click this. I'm going to put the two prices there. I'm going to shift click both of them. Right pane, right panel of the pane. It's the data panel right here. Down to the bottom under formatting. Right here, general, down to currency. Since I'm in the United States, we're going to say show me dollars. I could say the number of decimals is 2, but I could say 0. Don't show me any change. 1,000 separator. Once again, this is what you customize for your region: euros, pounds, sterling, rubles. If you're in the Soviet Union or Russia or whatever we call them these days, I think they're Russia. All right, so $75 an hour. Notice that. Now, this is a document now that is now locked, right? And the thing is, you'd never change these relationships. They're kind of locked down. You wouldn't let people change them. So if I come over here and say Christian gets promoted to $100 an hour, notice that, guess what? It doesn't affect this transaction time because he got promoted later in life and this transaction happened last year. Make sense? So now is a great time for a question or 5 questions or 20 questions. Michael says, question, I thought lookup is legacy because of the complexity of setting it up. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Okay, so understand why Michael's confused. So Michael, yes, it's legacy, but yes, it's super important. It's not unimportant. It's just, so in the old days, right? So here's the thing, okay? So we saw how we did the lookups and they brought them over, they did the snapshot, okay? In FileMaker version 2, right, which is where I started, you notice how we, like if I put the customer here and I want to say, show me the customer through a relationship to contacts, right? And we had the customer name, right? Name of customer right here. Notice that little dot thing right here? So in FileMaker 2, and notice how it always changes over here, right? So if I go to Sally, right? It's live. Starting in FileMaker 2, that didn't exist. So the only way to move the data in the old days was with a lookup. And so it's like, once again, in those days, all we had was this tool. It's like the old saying, if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem you have looks like a nail because you just whack it with a hammer. So FileMaker 2, we only had very few tools. Now we have more tools, and every release we get more tools. And so what you did is that you realized lookups were valuable for keeping a transaction, but they were overused because it was the only tool that we had. And so now that we can do a live data link versus a temporary link. Now you could also script this so the script would run and then it could update, right? Because there'll be times when say you're working on an invoice, and you change, like, because remember this is one product. What if Sally, who's currently, well, it's Colleen, so I go back to Colleen here, let's straighten it out. So there we go. So say that during the time of the invoice, you're quoting it, they add more, they remove more, and you want stuff to update, then you can build a relookup command a button that does a relookup, right? Now, you've got to be careful with the relookup because there's no undo for this function, right? Because relookups tend to do for found sets, right? So if I click on here and say, hey, you know, Christian was actually, we didn't really want Christian, we wanted Sam, who was a SQL person, okay? And Sam is like, you know, $225 an hour. Or it's a different product, right? You know, there's that product, there's Jake in Wisconsin, so there's Sam over here. So say I had a different record, for example, right? But it's not updating in here. So say we change 302, I can click in this field, go up here to records and say relookup. Now, when you look at relookup, you got to be very careful. It does the found set. Okay, which means if you had 5,000 invoices and you run this, you're going to refresh 5,000 invoices and probably destroy the data. There's no undo. It's a very dangerous command to have laying around. What you'd want to do is, if you're going to do this, you would script it. Okay, you ready for this? This will blow your mind. You would write a script. And what we want to do is before you run the relookup command, this is a little more advanced. I'm stepping in advanced stuff. Okay, Bob, I will answer that question. Yeah, it's kind of the same question. I guess Kermit was talking about that. And so he's asking about how do you, okay, so Kermit says, might be getting ahead of the training, but you can't update the lookups that would cause the problem, right? So, I mean, so it's a business. So what you have to do is FileMaker, you make FileMaker conform to your business, right? FileMaker should do what you want. Make it do what you want, okay? Does that make sense? FileMaker is a tool that's customizable. If you go work in Salesforce, you got to do it for the most part the way Salesforce does it. If you go to QuickBooks, you got to do it the way QuickBooks does it. In FileMaker, you dictate to the tool. You should dictate to the tool how you want your process to go. It should be like, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, going and doing it, right? That's why you're here to get the training. In other tool systems, you can't customize them. They go, you want to do it that way? Sorry, you're out of luck. Kiss my butt. Do it because I'm Salesforce. You do it my way. Your QuickBooks, you do it my way. Now, accountants be that way. They don't want people creatively messing with QuickBooks. I get that, right? But FileMaker's benefit is that it's totally flexible, and you want to make it be your person. So I'm just going to build what I would do is I would lock out these fields here. So let's just say we're going to lock, for the moment, I'm going to lock them out so you can't edit them. I'm going to click on all three fields here, and I'm going to say you cannot enter them in browse mode. Okay, for any reason, okay? Now, that also prevents me from putting data in there, but let me just solve a problem here. So I can't click into them, they're locked out. So what we want to do is write a little script. I'm going to say a brand new script. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to do two scripts for you real quick if we have time. And I'm kind of answering kind of both your Bob's question and I think Kermit's question. So I would say new, I would say input product, right? And what I would do is I would say, you could do a card style window, but you have to find some way of popping this on screen. And you'll say maybe show custom dialog. This is really old school and really ugly. I would do a card style window normally, but I just don't have the time to build all that out. Provide a product ID. And then what I would say is, I don't need a message. I would just say okay. I could do cancel. I'm just going to do okay. Then I'm going to say input fields. I want to input into field 1. I want it to go into the product ID product right here. And then you could give it a label ID of product, right? And then I say okay. And then at the end of this, I think you can actually tell it to commit the data, right? So when you hit OK, it will commit the data. So it'll write it into the field, commit the data, which will activate the relationships, right? So you ready for this? So I'm going to say OK, I'm going to say save. And then I come over here. I'm going to put a button over here. I'll just say a quickie button that run a perform script, run input product, OK. And then the title of it would be just, I'll just say change or something like that. Wow, how big is that? That is really, okay, let me go to view actual size, a little bit oversized. Wow, that's a ginormous button. What happened? It's a huge button. Okay, yeah, it got a little unwieldy. It's when you're winging it at 900 miles an hour and you're already up on your time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stuff over here. I'm holding down my modifier key to make the box dark. Everything inside the box will be grabbed. I move it over. Okay, so I have a change button right here for product. I'm going to go to browse mode. And let's say that we really want to use Jake from Wisconsin, right? So I'm going to go, I think Jake was what, 301? So I'm going to click over here. I can't click in here. I'm going to run a script which we control. What it does, who does it, we can control actually who activates. I say change. What is it doing? Oh, the script debugger's running. Stop. Okay. Okay, so there it is right here. I can input 3001. It would have just done it direct. Now, when I hit OK, watch here, and then watch down here, this data down here, okay? So it established a new relationship, and then it refreshed data because the relationship changed, okay? Now, say I changed Jake from Wisconsin. Jake moves to New York because he really wants COVID-19, okay? And so we're going to do that. and then I will say I want to update it. You could do an update kind of the same way. You just take the existing number and you write it back in there, right? You could do it that way too. I'm just going to say put 3001 back in there again, right? And notice I changed it here so it wasn't live, but I can do an update, force an update at my command. And so Jake has gone to New York to get COVID-19. Okay, makes sense? So that's where you start to script it and control it and do what you want, and you don't let people run around and change these things, because that's another thing. So mechanically, there's a lot going on. Martin says, it better use lookup instead of an auto enter calculation. I'm going to kick that one to Nick. Can you bring that one to Nick next week? In my opinion, okay, it's basically, Martin, what you're talking about is there's a video called Shaking the Dependency Tree done by Darren Terry. And what I'm doing is when I'm sitting here, I'm not stuck. What I'm doing is I'm evaluating your questioning. I'm evaluating the possible answers. And then I'm evaluating how the hell I want to say this to you without people being lost. You can do an auto enter calculation, which is a one-time thing. So just for giggles, we'll go to the items sold. I'm going to go field definitions with my keyboard shortcut hand here. I'm going to go, I just want to show them, open up their minds a little bit to the possibilities, but I want to say, I want the item sold, which is the description. Instead of this like this, you can actually say grab an auto enter calculation. So I turn that off, I put an auto enter calculation in, and then get me the data, right, from the product database, and then I can get the description right here. And you can say do not evaluate if reference fields are empty, whatever, that's fine. There's an option down here which is do not replace if there's any values in there. And normally, so you turn this off, right? So you don't, so that otherwise it doesn't behave like a lookup, right? And that, once again, we're kind of outside of time here, but I want to hit OK. So what I want to do is come over here. I'm going to switch it back to 3002 SAM. So I'm going to go change. I'm going to say 3002. What we're going to do is we're going to watch this field right here. I'm going to hit OK. It updates. So it works like a lookup. In fact, almost identical to lookup. If you change the number up here, if the triggers, yeah. So I know that Nick Hunter prefers auto enter calcs like that. I use the lookups instead in that condition because you can do a relookup command. Because see what the relookup, see an auto enter calc, one half does another. You know, it's like two ways of solving the same problem. I don't know they're for tactical stuff like this, like little things like this. I don't know there's a performance difference because once again, the idea is it does this snapshot thing once and then it quits running. Where you get into trouble with FileMaker is when you have a calculation that keeps spinning over and over and over. But the auto enter calculation fires once. It's very much like a lookup. So that's a good point. We will ask Nick about that next week. From Jose. You mind you explain the lookup of a WEEP invoice without changes? Does it work backwards with product information? I did an estimate. I wanted to customize the description. When it changed it changed the description. Yeah. So okay. So what? So Jose is asking this question that he changed something over here, then ended up changing it over here. And what you have, Jose, is you had that situation where you had that live field over here. So remember how we show that these are, if you zoom in here, this is why it was kind of big. If the little dots mean it's a live field, which means if you change it here, you're actually not changing invoices. You're just simply borrowing the data from invoices or from the other place. And if you change it, it's going to change somewhere else through a relationship. If you want it to be transactional in nature and not change unless you want it to change, you has to be a local field. So I guarantee when you made a change, most likely that you had a field like this, and it actually the field didn't belong. Like if I change choline in here, like say, oh well, you know, choline. Okay, so here's choline over here, and we go like this. In fact, this is what Jose did. He goes, well, choline didn't come pick this up because her assistant, you know, Ted, the executive assistant, came on behalf of the Apple VP because the Apple VP is never going to drive to your house and pick it up. So Ted comes in. I'll say came in. picked up, right? We make a little note there, right? Well, this is because we changed the invoice. Doesn't mean we want to change the record, but guess what? We changed the contact. We're screwed ourselves big time. Jose, I think that's what you're doing. So you've got to not use the live fields and just, and like if you're over here and you want to see the current price, the current latest price of some item over there, then you want the live link to show you the current price, right? For example, let me fix this back. This is pretty relevant. I'm just going to say choline, okay? And so choline's over here. I'm going to get rid of this live relationship field here. Fix that. This is the unit price. Let me do this one. You guys will like this one. This is pretty good. You folks, you guys. I say you guys loosely. This is, let's just say this is the unit price. That was the part of the invoice. So say 3 years have gone by. 3 years have gone by, and so Colleen hires Sam, the SQL person, but Sam is on fire. He is an awesome developer, and he's even charging more per hour. Now, we don't want this to change, right? But say that Sam changes the rate to $325, and Colleen calls you and says, "Hey, can I hire Sam again?" And you go, "Hey, Sam's really awesome. We like it. We value your customer as Apple." But then you look at the invoice and you go, "Wait a minute. You paid $225 for Sam, but Sam's going rate is $340. So there's times you want the actual live link when you want to see the live data. You can compare them and say, well, the price has gone up, or I can make you a deal, right? And so you can override and say, well, how about we give you Sam for $295? Deal because you're Apple and we love you, right? And so that's how that works, right? And so once again, this is the local one-time lookup at the time that the relationship was set up. And over here on the price is the live data. So, pretty cool stuff. Questions, because we're at an hour and 5 minutes, and I want to make sure your heads are not. So Elzo was asking the practical use of a lookup. The practical use of a lookup is if you had a bunch of invoices, like say you had a batch run of invoices. Like I used to have this customer that did street sweeping. It was like one of my second or third customers, like from 1990. And they did street sweeping. And they would run a whole batch of invoices at the end of every month, right? That's how they bill their company. They'd write a script that would spin in FileMaker 2. And if you already had the invoices created, but then you realized the price was off, like between last month and this month, Sam was $300 because he was street sweeping or whatever he was doing. But this month now he's $320, but you already created him over here at $300. Well, and you haven't sent the invoices out, so the customer doesn't know there's a mistake. You've stopped it before they went in the mail or via email or whatever. So you change it here. You come back over here. Say you have 100 records here, right? Then you would tell the system you'd click in the field, which it's locked out right now, and you'd tell it to do a relookup. Now you could also script the relookup. But that's where you would carpet bomb a massive set of updates to the found set. Relookups and replaces work on the found set. That's why you got to be really careful. They don't work on the record you're on. They'll do the record you're on, and they'll do all of your friends' records too that are in the found set. So it's dangerous. Yeah, so the lookup option for Jose definitely fixes your problem. The problem is you got a live data link and you need it to be kind of transactional. You do it, then it quits changing. And you only want to change if you tell it to change. That's why I made this button here to change it, right? You say update it, and you don't have to, like this change allows me to put any number in here, but you could actually just say update, and it doesn't pop a dialog, it just refreshes it, right? Right, you could do that too. You could do it a couple different ways. That's a change. What if I did this? I did an update here. Update or refresh. That's even better because that's a better term. People know that they update what. This is kind of like refresh the data, right? Or maybe even that little recycle icon like you have in a browser, right? So then you're going to run a different script over here. Bring up the scripts. I'm going to say create script, refresh, and you can refresh one of two ways. You can set the same value back into itself, which will just do the current record, or you can try to run the relookup command. For a single like this, I would just be inclined to do a set field command. Set the field. We're in invoices. We want to go to the ID product, hit OK, and then set it to itself. So literally it's like going in, but it'll re-trip the relationship to refresh things, right? So did I do that right? Yeah, I'm setting it to itself. Yeah, exactly. And I hit save, close, close. Oh, I think I closed the wrong file. Stand by. Did I just screw that 8 ways of Sunday? Yes, I did. That's fine. So it'll pop the new file. Oh, hello. So there's the invoices, right? Sorry about that, folks. New window. Products on the right. And new window. Contacts on the left. Right? Okay. Hide this stuff here. Hide all the background icons. So what we have is we have the refresh right here. I don't think we scripted it, so it's going to perform. I have to change the script. You have to hit this button here, and then you say refresh. Okay. So I go over here. I go browse mode. So let's say that 302. Go back to 302. So Sam is now. He is a fighter pilot. He's changed careers. Fighter pilot. And for him to go shoot down enemy fighters, he's like he's $500 an hour for a fighter pilot. If he's really good, it'd be worth it. If he sucks and crashes planes, not so much. So we want to update this, right? So we could change it, but I don't want to change it. So I'm going to just tell it to refresh. It's going to set that value into itself, right? So watch down here, 1, 2, 3. So there you go. Yay. Awesome. So there you folks go. It's pretty awesome stuff. If you have any questions, send us an email to support@RC Consulting. So that might be good. Yes, and then Bob asked, did the change only change the current selected record? Yes, because I ran a set field. A set field only affects the record. If I'd run a replace or a relookup command, it would have carpet bombed the found set, which is so I did it that way very specifically. So this allows you to change it to something else. Okay. And then there's that. And then you can obviously come over here and Jake, or that's Jake. Let me go to Jake. Say Jake is 150 an hour. And then the change just sets the number back in there. I can't do it because I've prevented the locked person out. So you can say change. Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed that up. Sorry. I'll do it one more time. I want to do the refresh. So there's 200 an hour. Then you do the refresh. And all it does is refresh this one record right here. So cool. Yeah. So that's how that works. So it's, I mean, if folks want the sample file, I can post it. It's kind of really lame, but what I would do is I would also post the screenshot of the relationship here because it makes it kind of useful. So tomorrow is going to be an awesome day. Candido, yeah, send that question into us. That'd be great. Once again, there's a delay here, about a 60-second, 90-second delay. I want to thank all of you who have been sponsoring and supporting this channel by purchasing the training. I really appreciate it. It's how we keep this all running. And like why I said I have 3 video guys right now, all editing like beavers, hardcore video beavers, editing videos so they're all ready to go for the next release. Very important. And then obviously we have scheduled events set up in the event that FileMaker were to ship an update. We would have to kind of commandeer our live training schedule and kind of blow it out. I don't anticipate needing to blow out next week just between you and me. Otherwise I wouldn't have booked Nick. But it's after that it's going to get really exciting because they're running out of days in May. Days in May. They got to ship in May. I'm not sure what it is. I think the Cinderella's limo turns to a pumpkin at midnight. For those of you who are familiar with Disney stories, Cinderella, and at midnight all her fancy stuff turned to a pumpkin. So I think they have to ship in May or pumpkin-y kind of things happen. With that, I'm Richard Carlton. Sign off for today. We'll see you next time.
guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected, the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.